The other thing that happens at the Last Supper here is the first formal appearance of the beloved disciple. He may have been lurking around in some other places earlier on in the gospel, but he's certainly here. And where is he? He's lying in the kolpos, or in the bosom of Jesus, which, of course, is a typical posture for someone at a symposium and at a Passover Seder. It's one of the questions that's asked at a Passover Seder. Why are we here in this way? Well, because this is a special meal. In any case, this is the way people reclined at banquets in antiquity, at formal dinners. And so that's what John is doing. That's why he's on the kolpos of Jesus. He's at the proper place, right by Jesus, so at the place of honor. So the beloved disciple is right there by Jesus's side, imitating the relationship between the Logos and God that was spoken about in the prologue, where the divine word that became flesh in Jesus had been in the bosom of the Father, or at the bosom of the Father. Might also echo Luke 16:22, where we hear the story of Lazarus in the bosom of Abraham. Another echo, perhaps, of the Lazarus whom we encountered in chapter 11. In any case, the beloved disciple is here in that position of intimacy, and Peter has to go through him to get to Jesus. So whatever Peter's position in the hierarchy of leadership of the early church, at least in John's rendition of the Last Supper, he's in a secondary position to the beloved disciple, whoever the beloved disciple is or whatever he represents. Keep that in mind as we just look at a couple more pictures of the Last Supper. Here's a more traditional one from the Renaissance. This is Domenico Ghirlandaio from the 15th century. And this kind of scene is often replicated in art, where you have the beloved disciple lying at the bosom of Jesus in a way that made sense to the artist, who didn't understand the practice of reclining a table where everybody is reclining a table in antiquity. So if it says that the beloved disciple is reclining in the bosom of Jesus, he must have had too much to drink or something, or it was too late and he fell asleep. In any case, there he is, lying down on the table. All right, a bit of amusement, perhaps. Interesting that in probably the most famous rendition of the Last Supper, Da Vinci's, which still hangs in Milan, done in the end of the 15th century, John, who is clearly to our left of Jesus, his right, and is bending over to hear Peter's question. You see Peter's hand under the chin of John the Baptist. Is he hitting, not John the Baptist, John the beloved disciple, is he hitting him in the throat, or is he pointing over to Judas? What's he doing there? Whatever he's doing, this is a rendition of the point where Peter is questioning the beloved disciple about who it is that's going to betray Jesus. And the beloved disciple is there, a young man, handsome, beardless, etc. But he's not lying down on the table. Right? Although Da Vinci thought that that was one way to represent the scene. Here's Da Vinci's sketches of the Last Supper. And you can see two versions of the beloved disciple over here. Here you have more or less what you get in the final version. Young man, beardless, head tilted over, not quite far as tilted as he is in the other version. Here you have him as pretty much he was represented in the Ghirlandaio painting with his head on the table, out cold, either, had too much to drink or a little too late. And in any case, Da Vinci said, no, we got to get the Peter scene in. That's important.